and then they start turning into dragons. And these two dragons start dancing all over the green screen. I was like, oh, shit. And I looked around and I was like, does everybody see this? No, all right, whatever. I used to suck on my mommy's titty when I was friggin' 6 months old. I don't do that anymore.
Right,
what am I doing right now? Where am I going then? Who cares about then? Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it? And everybody started dying laughing. And I was like, yes. He laughed too. I was like, yeah, man, yeah, dude.
Welcome back, everyone. We are super excited to have another very special guest on the show. This is a classmate of mine way back in the day, whenever at the very beginning of our careers, and we were going through buds as frogman hopefuls. And now we've both done our whole career, gone our whole way, and it's been a little while since we've been able to catch up. So it's going to be really cool to see what we've been doing since those cold, miserable days in the surf zone there in Coronado. How you doing, Mr. Rivera?
Good. How about you, bud?
I am doing great. So from the last time that we really got to consistently hang out, we were pretty much in training in 267. We were cold, wet, sandy, miserable, and the focus was selecting and training those individuals that can perform and master chaos and get through some of those chaotic elements that war really is. So as we kind of begin this conversation, would you be able to maybe key us into a particular time in training in 267 or any of the classes that you ended up going to that highlights that chaotic environment and the push to thrive in those environments?
Yeah, man. We were talking right before this, and it spurred a memory up that I'm going to share the story, and it's pretty funny. Do you remember the second phase swim pool comp instructor? His name was Jason Hahn.
Yes.
You remember how chill he was? He's super relaxed, super awesome. He even walked all lazy, like just like he was just a super nice guy. He never yelled at anybody. He was just super fair and just a great guy. That guy he was my first LPO, and he picked up chief on my first deployment in Iraq. That was awesome just to be able to learn from him. He's now, I believe, in Texas. He's working for Greg Abbott's office for the governor of Texas.
That's excellent.
I believe he's working with Border Protection or Border Patrol, something like that. I don't really know. I got to catch up with him. But yeah, we deployed together, and he's always been an awesome guy. But going back to what you were talking about, chaos, you can't imagine him being very chaotic, right? Like he was just always super mellow, super cool, calm, and collected. I had him for my pool comp instructor. He was my lane tester, and you got the tanks on, and you go down to the bottom of the pool, and you're breathing. And I just remember having prepared so much for that, right? For pool comp, you got to go through the whole de-rigging procedure. You got to just make sure you know all the knots to untie. You just have to be very confident in that chaos that's coming, because you know that it's going to suck for about, 20, 30 minutes. It's just going to absolutely suck, right? But I remember like lining up, and I just so happened to, Jason's line opened up, and I jumped in, and I was like, fuck yeah, dude, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to have Jason Hahn as my pool comp grader. This is going to be easy day. So you get in the water, like jump down, and he hit me with the first like surf hit, right? First surf hit, and I was like, oh, that's kind of like he's shaking my tanks a little bit, right? I remember he put, like they put their hand over it and then rip your mask off. Dude, he goes like this and just held it there for like 5 seconds and then slowly took it off. I was like, this is going to be awesome, dude. And he ripped it off, and, he kind of tied some knots. I untied them, put everything back on, put my mask back on, and just kept chugging along. That was another thing. Like, you remember how some of the instructors, they'd rip your mask off and you wouldn't see it again until like after the test
and the
was
whole
done?
time you're just trying to do it basically blind, or like, burning your eyes with the chlorine.
Yeah. So yeah, Jason was just, like I said, super chill with it. He gave me my mask back, so I put it back on. I was like, whoa, this is freaking cool. This is
Do a
awesome.
clearance.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So then I end up getting hit again, the surf hit again. This one was like slightly more aggressive, but only because at that time it was Jason and another instructor. So now I got two guys on me, kind of like shake my tanks
Mhm.
up, toss me all around. I was like, oh, this second one is a bit more aggressive than the first one. Still super chill in comparison to what I had envisioned in my head. Untied the knot, popped the regulator back in my mouth. Again, I had my mask. I was like, whew, this is pretty fucking killer. Put the mask on, clear the mask out. I'm like, all right. So you just keep crawling along, keep crawling along. Third hit comes, and this is where it's like, you got to take the tanks off, right? So get hit, take the tanks off, untie everything, put the tanks back on. I'm breathing back through my regulator. At this time, like, I don't have my mask anymore. So I was like, all right, cool. At least I understand this is the way it's going to be. You have to put everything on in a certain sequence. There's a very process and procedure driven culture that was driven in at that very initial stage, in second phase. So I put what I thought was the right process on, right? Weight belt,
Trace
waist
those
strap, chest strap,
straps.
whatever you're
Yeah.
tracking everything. Yeah. I thought that I had it just wired tight because I had it in my head, this stupid song that I was singing just to make sure I was getting the process right. So then I do it again and again and again and again. It's like 4 or 5 big ass surf hits. And every time, like, the knots get harder and more involved. And I just keep on untying them, keep on untying. I'm like, damn, dude, this is taking forever. This is way longer than 20 minutes. I thought we were going to be like super chill, Jason Hahn. It felt like it was starting out that way. Anyway, I, end up finishing the test. Like I said, it felt like it was way too long. Finish the test, you're holding your breath forever, and then you kiss the deck, and then you exhale all the way up, which felt like you're coming up out of a 30-foot pool. It's
Right.
really only whatever, like 10, 12 feet or something like that. I don't know, but you get up to the top, say, I feel fine, and I hear from Jason, I'm totally expecting, pass, Rivera, move on. He yells, fail. I was like, what the hell? What's going on, dude? And I looked at him, I was like, "What did I do wrong?" He's like, "Tell me the procedure for putting your tanks back on." So I explained it to him, and he's like, "Yep, that's exactly what you did. It's wrong. You're supposed to put waist strap, then weight belt, or whatever one." I had
Yeah.
one of them backwards, and I was like, "Fuck, dude, this sucks, man." I was super pissed. I was like, "Man, I've wasted such an awesome opportunity." So you go back in, you train more. The weekend comes, train more, and then I had like everything wired tight. So then I go up for the pool comp the second try. You get 3 tries. Second try, and it was that officer who'd just come from the SDVs. Do you remember that guy?
I'm trying to
He was
think.
the OIC of second
Mitch
phase.
Mitch Hall?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. He just came from SDVs and like he was diving as your life, right? You're like, what the
Yeah.
fuck are you talking about? I'm trying to go to Iraq. I'm not trying
Right.
to go swim
Yeah.
pools. So I ended up having him, but thankfully, I had it all, like I said, wired tight, and I ended up passing that second time. I remember the first, you get in the water with Mitch, and he just hit me super hard. He ripped that mask off my face, and I was like, damn, dude, I'm pretty sure you broke my nose. That fucking sucks, man. And I felt like he was super mad at me. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. So anyway, I ended up, long story short, I ended up passing that pool, come up to the surface, Rivera pass. And he asked me afterwards, he's like, this is your retread? Like, you did great. Like, there was nothing wrong. Who'd you have the first time? And I was like, oh, Instructor Han. He's like, you failed with Jason? I was like, oh, Jesus, dude, relax. Yeah. So then
Dude.
everybody in the pool, I remember all the different instructors like, Jason, you failed somebody? He was like, yeah, he fucked up. He kept doing the same thing over and over and over again. Told Jason that after we met in my first platoon. Like I said, it was his LPO push, and he was like, "Yeah, I think you're probably the only person I ever failed in pool cop. I would make it super easy." I was like, "Oh, I know. I trust me. I believe it." But I was overconfident. I was way overconfident. I was just like, you have something in your head, and it doesn't
Right.
live up to the expectation. I remember after that, after I finished that second pool comp, I was like, "Whew, all right." good. Nothing hard is ever going to happen again. And I was way wrong.
yeah, because
Way
you're like,
wrong.
post pool comp, you're basically a team guy by that point.
Smooth sailing, right?
Yeah.
Dude. I was way
man.
wrong. I don't remember. Do you remember in third phase when we were on the O course and I lawn darted out of remember that window? Like you're on the O course on the island and
Yep.
you climb up and you're in that window and you jump to the rope, right? Well,
Mhm.
short guys like us jump, but bigger dudes, they just reach out and grab it.
Yeah.
I jumped over the rope because I just overcommitted. And this is fully kitted up in the O course. Fully kitted up. I lawn darted over the thing and fucked my shoulder up, dislocated my shoulder, and then ended up having to go back to the Strand to get x-rays. Like they were like, yeah, you broke your shoulder. I broke my collarbone, dislocated my shoulder, and then got like a slap tear.
Slap
So
tear.
they were like, well, you can keep going because at that point we only had like the FTX week left. There was like 2 weeks of training left, well, like a week and a half. So we were doing that O course, and then we were starting FTXs that next like 2 days later, whatever. So I went back, got my X-rays and everything, and I couldn't do much of the FTXs, which the FTXs were all like bullshit anyway. It's not like you're actually practically doing anything. You're just going through the motion. So I would go on the FTXs and have my arms slung up in my kit, right? And then during the day, there was man, dude, I can't remember what instructor it was, but anyway, he was like, well, you can't do this hard shit of the FTXs, so we're going to make you do something else hard. And I had to get wet and sandy every hour on the hour for, I think it was like 3 or 4 days. By the fourth day, Ames. Do you remember him?
Okay.
Lee Ames?
Yeah.
Lee?
Yep.
Yeah.
He was one of the medics there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the one who I had to report to every hour on the hour because they were like, well, you're stupid. Like, fucking hurt yourself a week and a half before. So, like, they were like, we're not going to waste the time and roll you back, right? Because you freaking, whatever, 10 days away from graduating. So
you've already
just
passed
keep
most
you
of the
pushed
stuff.
forward. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
FTX is a lot of it, like you were saying. So the final training exercise. So like, especially like the trainings like BUDS, like the SEAL training, is to graduate. You have like a final test. So that's what they call it, a final training exercise. And that's where they're putting all of the pieces together that you've learned up to that point. So yes, it's kind of going through the motions because you've already passed all those tests. You've already demonstrated your competency for the shooting, for the IADs or immediate action drills, for your OTB procedures over the beach, whatever you're swimming, patrolling. You've already trained to and shown successful completion to those standards. The FTX is just putting all of those pieces together into essentially a full mission profile, which is kind of the lingo that it became as we went through the teams. But yeah, the FTXs were like the big test gates, check in the box final. But because you have your whole class with you, you can cross-load those roles and responsibilities. So if we're going to get that down pilot, you're obviously not going to be the guy carrying the stretcher, right?
I got one arm, so I was carrying either like the AW gunner's gun. I would like when they were carrying the pilot, I would carry the assault, the automatic weapon in my hand, my good hand, and then I would have everything like slung around me like a ladder. I just became like a human cargo net, right? Just throw it on Riv. He'll take care of it. And then when I wasn't doing that dumb shit, I would have to go get wet and sandy. And I remember just like, it'd be like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Everybody would be sleeping. My alarm would go off. I'd be like, fuck, dude, this sucks so bad. But I was supposed to do it for 4 days. And then on the third night, Lee was like, this is getting so old. Just stop. I give up. You're fine. I was like, oh, thank God, dude. So I finally slept through a night.
That's awesome.
It was so dumb.
Man,
so yeah,
the sleep
like
deprivation
chaos.
was
For
real.
I remember, and then on that deployment with Jason as our LPO, I remember I was super amped. Like, so we just landed, and we're in Iraq, and I went out to Anbar province out in Ubaidy, so it's like pretty much on the Syrian border in Iraq. So it's pretty much as far west as you can go in Iraq, and that was like the Wild Wild West. It was fun because there was nobody out there. There was no headset out there. There was nothing. It was man camp. And then we were the captains and mayors of man camp, right? So it was super cool. And, like we would hold down security every once in a while. We would do all kinds of just regular fun team guy shit. But then where the base was, was pretty cool. It was right on the Euphrates River.
Mhm.
So I got to, swim in the Euphrates River. Our range actually, so like the range that we would go and practice on for ops and stuff, in most like bigger bases, the range is going to be on the facility, right? Like on the base. Well, our range, because our facility was so small, like the base was so small, we would have to go outside of the base and then go down to the river in the Euphrates River. And then there was a pretty sweet ass bridge that we would jump off. But then there was like a range, like a small range that we would just go shoot at. We would shoot there like 4 or 5 days a week, training, practicing. But while I was there, I remember, I don't think didn't sleep for like, I want to say like 10 days, maybe even 2 weeks, just because, like I said, I was so amped. Like, I'm finally here. I finally
I'm at the
got there,
show.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I did it, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
And this was like the second op within that time frame. And the first op we went on, it was fine. Everything worked out great. Second op we went on, they were starting to notice, like the head medic for our platoon. I was the assistant medic. His name was Justin Mendenhall. I don't know if you ever met him, Mendy.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's a Master Chief now. He's freaking super killer. I think he's the
That's awesome.
Master Chief for Team 3, maybe? I can't remember. But anyway, we were there and I was telling Justin, I was like, I don't think I slept in like 2 weeks. And I think I'm starting to hallucinate. And he was like, well, you're fine. So just like get some sleep tonight. And I was like, dude, I
Yeah.
can't. Like, I lay down and it's like whatever, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And that's when you finally like, put your head down because you've been working all night. And you lay down and your mind's racing. You're like, holy shit, this is crazy. This is awesome. So
Yeah.
that whole day goes by. We go on that second op, and that one, our platoon chief, like we didn't have any officers. So you remember how in Buds we didn't have any officers?
Yeah.
In my first platoon, we didn't have any officers.
Wow.
It was killer, dude. Yeah. We started with an officer. His name was Rob Sarver. And then he got ripped away to go to Afghanistan. And our chief petty officer, Juan Vasquez, he ended up like pretty much taking over as the OIC. Because at that time, Jason picked up chief. So we had two chiefs. And Juan was a super old, salty frog man. So they were like, well, Rob's not doing anything anyway, relative to all the shit that you're doing. So Juan, you'll just be the OIC. Everybody just kind of elevated and we go on this second op and Juan looks at me and he's a Puerto Rican dude like me, but much taller. And he's like, you okay? I'm like, I think so. I'm fine. Yeah, let's go. And he's like, well, instead of you being a salter, so let's just have you on the gun in the MRAP. So, you're on like the video game, like joystick, and you have the red crosshairs. And I remember like we go out on the op, everything's going fine. We get to drop the guys off and I stay in the truck and I'm on the joystick, just constantly hovering around, looking around. I'm like, oh man, I hope somebody freaking comes around this thing. I got a
I'm ready.
live, 50 cal. I'm ready to light some dudes up.
Yeah.
And the red crosshair, so it's a night vision screen. So everything's in green, different shades of green. And then you have the crosshairs that are in red. And the crosshairs start moving and wiggling. I was like, oh shit, what's going on here? And then they start turning into dragons. And these two dragons start dancing all over the green screen. I was like, oh shit. And I looked around and I was like, does everybody see this? No, all right, whatever. So I just enjoyed the show for a little bit. The guys came back, got into the MRAP. And I was like, Justin, you see these dragons? He's like, oh, okay, we got to put you to sleep, dude. We got to give you some Ambien so that way you shut it down because this is not good. They changed me out on the drive back. I didn't even realize that that's what my brain is doing. Like, it's like, well, you're not going to sleep? Fine, we'll put you to sleep. We'll get you there. You don't want to get there? We'll get you there. The eyes are open. You just go to a dream state. So, yeah, it was the interesting stuff that you do in the teams when you think like, when you're going through training, can't get any more tired, can't get any more like physically uncomfortable. And then you get to the platoon, you're like, I'm way fucking colder than I was in Buds or in SQT. I'm way more tired. I'm way more beat up. I just got to keep going. This is retarded. Like, this is so fucking hard. But yeah, this is good, man. Just
Yeah.
a good lifestyle to live.
That's pretty wild. Like, there's so many things that you touch on that I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm relating to that. I hear you. We'll touch on Iraq, and then I'll rewind a little bit and get back to kind of like the pool comp stuff because there's some interesting tie-ins there. But I had trouble sleeping in Iraq too. Like, I think that's where I really noticed that I had some things going on with not being able to sleep, all that kind of stuff. We lived in those little chews, which are like
Yeah.
shipping containers that kind of divided off walls with whatever we could use. And I'm sharing a wall with the master at arms. So not a team guy. He's there on the base helping with force protection. And he went on a couple mobility operations with us and stuff like that, either in the turret or something. But, he helped out where he could. But I'm sharing that wall with him. I'm trying to sleep. I think I'm sleeping. And I'm like kind of like winding up like a spring. And then as soon as I relax, I just wham. And my like tight rubber band, my arms would just pop and I'd smack that wall. And just completely involuntary, didn't mean to do it. And then so finally, like time's going on, like finally like, I pull him aside one time, like, hey, listen, man, I know I'm probably keeping you up. I don't mean to, but I just have been having this like involuntary reaction where I just get really tight and then just as I relax and fall asleep, I hit that wall. He's like, oh, is that what's going on? I thought you could hear me and you were like banging on the wall to try to get me to quiet down. So I'm like turning down like my movie or like I'm on like a call with my wife and I'm trying to talk to her and I'm just like, how does this guy hear me? I'm whispering. And I'm like, no, dude, I couldn't hear you at all. My body was doing some weird stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't control it. It's involuntary. Like, trust me, like I wanted to go to sleep, but it's like you're finally there and then the engine in your mind feels like it's like you got your pedal to the metal. It's like, wow, it's revving at like the top speed. And you're like, oh man, we're going to go do this. We're going to 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 do this. And it's easy also to focus because you're singularly focused. Family's back home. Everything is fine. And you are there. So you're in like high performance mode all day and all night. And then when you're not operating, you're working out, right? So then you're just trying to get big and strong and you're just trying. You're trying and trying and trying. And like I say, that's the only thing I can equate it to. It's like you're flooring it in your brain and you're operating like that effectively and efficiently, but you can't control your foot that's just slammed down to the ground. You want to like pull it off, but you can't, right? But anyway, I took that Ambien, that kind of reset me and then got back into like a regular-ish sleep routine where, you sleep in the day, awake at night, getting after it. And then I remember we closed that base down in Ubaidy, like all the way out in Anbar. So like it was pretty sweet. So like we didn't sleep in shoes. Like we had regular huts that we were sleeping in. It was pretty sweet. But when we shut the base down, they were like, all right, everybody on the base is going to head over to Camp Cupcake. That's what we called it. I can't remember the name of it, but that's just memory is serving. So everybody went back to Camp Cupcake. Yes, Al-Assad. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. So that's where I was primarily based out of. We went to Ubaidy. We did some work with those guys. We did some interops and stuff, but we were living on Al-Assad at Camp Cupcake.
Yeah. So like we called it Camp Cupcake because every time we went to go visit, it was like sweet living. Everybody was comfortable, but there were so many rules and so much bullshit.
They had galleys. You could go eat at an actual galley. Yeah.
We didn't have a galley. We had a kitchen. And then we would have like people bring us food and stuff doing what I was doing. So anyway, we were out in Ubaidy and shutting that base down. And when we shut it down, everybody on the facility moved over to Camp Cupcake. So like all the Army, all the Marines, everybody moved over there, enablers, everybody moved over to Camp Cupcake. And then we stayed for an additional like 2 days. And for 2 days, it was like the Lord of the Flies. It was wild, dude. We were bored as hell, not operating, but we were just holding down security. So like there was the bigger base and then we had our smaller base towards the edge of Ubaidy. So and then we had the MRAP, so we would park them on our internal base against the big HESCO barriers, with all the barbed wire around it. We would park that so that way the 50 cals would be mounted up on the MRAPs over the edge of where the HESCO barriers were. So we were like holding down security on our smaller facility, just in case anybody got wild. Like we knew that they knew that we shut the base down. And we knew that like they wanted to come in and get whatever they needed off of the base, like wires, debt wire, whatever was there, they were going to take.
Yep.
So like I said, for 2 days, we were just going crazy, just on edge and having a good time. But at night, that's when you're not operating and there's internet's down, everything is down. There's no more creature comforts. So we ended up, I think on the first night, we're like, all right, let's start a big bonfire. Do you remember the bonfire? Did you ever go to that bonfire out in where I'm talking about in Ubaidy?
I don't recall it. If
It was like
if
it
we
was like
went
a
through there, we were
crawl.
usually just going in there for like a mission brief or something like that,
Yeah.
and I don't recall the bonfire area.
It was a pretty big bonfire, but it was around it was a wooden deck, a big wooden deck,
Okay.
and that's where we had like
Mhm.
chairs and everything to hang out around
Yep.
the bonfire.
Yep. We
So
built one of those on our compound as well. Yeah.
yeah, it was a good time. So we ended up lighting a fire and we're burning it, and we're like, man, tomorrow they're gonna come. All the Iraqis are gonna come, and they're gonna dig in the ground, pull all these wires up. They're gonna get crazy. They're gonna really like just rip this place to shreds. Let's burn this motherfucker to the ground. So we ended up taking that bonfire, tossing like chairs and everything and couches into the bonfire. And we're like, let's make it bigger. Let's make it bigger. It got so big that wooden deck that surrounds the bonfire that caught on fire. And then all the buildings surrounding, it was like, it was crazy, man. So anyway, the next day we were like, that got a bit out of hand. That was a bit crazy. I guess we do need dad because when mom's around, we have a lot of fun. And this yes man shit's got to end. So we
Oh,
ended up
man.
that second night, we were like, all right, let's relax tonight because there's nothing left to burn and we're leaving tomorrow. So anyway, that next day they come, the Iraqis come and they're like ripping the whole base to shreds. And you're like, all right, there can't be anything. Like they're ripping walls apart, you know what I mean? To try to get the cables that are in the walls. That all happens, hours go by, and you're like, dude, this place looks like a wasteland. Like there's nothing left of this base. And then this next crew comes in and they start digging into the ground. And they're digging in to try to see like what wires are below ground, like buried and stuff. Like, oh man, how the hell did they find all this stuff? It was crazy. So then we ended up staying there that whole day, that night, and then the next day we drove over to Al Assad. Yeah, shut that base down. And then we built a huge facility, like a huge deck in the Al Assad base, because there was two team guy bases on Al Assad. There was the one where all the team guys were from who were like already supposed to be there. And then there was this like hodgepodge crew of no officer guys coming over and just like kind of being assholes and just really messing stuff up. It was a lot of fun, man. That was a great time. No officers, and then the second pump, we had an officer. We had two officers. They were great dudes, but yeah, it was crazy. So like in buds, there's usually like one or two officers per class. Ours was with us up until SQT, and then an SQT disappeared, right? Because like he had to get held back for the next class because he had to go through professional development as an officer. So
Mhm.
all of SQT, like we had no officers. And that one officer we had, I can't remember his name, but he was a super cool guy. Like he was a normal dude. You remember that guy? What was his name?
So
You
I
talking
ended
about?
up rolling out after Hell Week from
Okay.
267. So I don't know the transition with
So
SQT and
he
things like
hopped into
that.
your class. What was the officer that hopped into your class in SQT?
A guy who was already a team guy, but he like went to college or something like that.
Yeah.
His last name was Simmons. Tommy Angry Boy Simmons. And so he was cool. He was a good mentor, good guidance, you know what I mean, for us while we were young SQT students. But
Yeah.
he was the big one that I remember.
It was Josh. It was
Yeah.
definitely Josh in our class, in our
Okay.
buds class.
Yeah.
There was only one officer. There was three officers in our buds class that started. One of them quit, and the other one got the shit kicked out of him until he quit. Because I remember it was during first phase. It was prior to Hell Week and first week of training, and he read the schedule wrong, but he didn't want to admit that he read the schedule wrong. And he's like, "We don't have time to go to lunch." And we were like, "We're fucking starving, dude. We gotta eat." And
Yeah.
he was like, "No, we can't. We got to stay here at the O course because the instructors they're on their way." Like I said, he read the schedule wrong, so
Uh-huh.
he kept us at the O course, and we were there for like an hour and 20 minutes on the O course waiting for the buds instructors. They come out, and they're like, "Damn, you guys got here fast. What the hell happened?" There was nobody at the cafeteria. They said that they didn't receive anybody, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we skipped it. We had MRAs," and we were like, "That's bullshit. We didn't have MRAs. We didn't need anything,
We
dude.
didn't have any
We're
emergency. Didn't give me
starving."
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Echigaruga, you remember him?
Oh yeah.
Etchy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
He ended up blasting through the whole class, running over to the officer. I can't remember this dude's last name, but I remember he grabbed him. Etchy is a big dude, right? He grabbed him, grabbed this O, dragged him over the berm, and you just heard him wailing on him for way too long. And he was like, "This is going to keep going until you quit." So the guy was like, "Well, I guess this is a gut check. I just got to eat this ass beating." But no, he went after it, Etchy went after it, and then like two other instructors went over the berm. And then you heard the ass whooping got bigger and bigger. We're like, "Holy shit, dude, this sucks so bad." So the guy comes crawling over the berm after he gets his ass whooped, crawls over the berm, and he's like, "I quit, give me the bell. This is it." He was all bloodied up and everything. Yeah, they were
Oh,
like, they
man.
canceled the O course for us, and they're like, "Go eat something right now. Because like if any
Wow.
of you guys go down, that's gonna be our ass, not his ass." You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Dang.
were we going to say about pool comp?
Yeah, so I kinda got full Benny with pool comp. I had a similar kind of run that you had where it was like, whatever it was, I missed, like, some nuance of the procedure. I can't remember what it was, but I think, with, Albert.
Oh my God, dude.
And so I was like, "Okay, that should be a fairly chill pool comp," you know what I mean? And I just failed some, like, nuance, and then it was just like the microscope's on you, you know what I mean? Like, they're looking at you for, like, everything. The microscope was already on me. 1, being a little guy, and then 2, I wasn't exactly a waterman. That is not where I shined at all, and prior to pool comp, I got my ass kicked with the tread.
Oh yeah.
The tread fucked me up. So, I already had, like, all the instructor's eyes on me, and so after I failed that one with Albert, like, I went all the rounds. I think I got, like, Marcus?
Yeah.
Instructor Marcus, and then,
Marcus.
like,
Yeah.
the other one that was from SDV or something like that, and
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
all, like, you hardly ever pass with those guys. I had, like, 2 of those guys, and then I think I had Lugo for my final test, but, I mean, he did not take it easy on me. I was, I think, the last person in the pool, been drinking water and just sipping whatever air you can sip, like, for I don't know how long, just like,
Yeah.
this is mostly water, but I know there's a little oxygen in there somewhere. So for the tread though, the first time I went completely tits up,
Oh, you passed
like
out?
completely passed out. And not like I've done shallow water blackouts before where like I'm like, maybe doing like the 50-meter underwater swim or whatever. And I've like blacked out in scenarios like that. This blackout was way different. So, like, I was out. I think what we determined was that it was like a hypercapnia type thing. Like, I built up so much CO2 in my system because I wasn't off gassing it through my breathing. I wasn't breathing well in the tread. And then I went into panic chaosity, you know what I mean? Just trying to tread with my
Yeah.
hands. And then they're splashing me. All the instructors are on me now because I'm not following procedures. Like, blah, blah. I don't remember actually going out. And that's what kind of freaked me out in my subsequent attempts at the tread is it's just like I was there and then I wasn't. And the next thing I
Yeah.
remember is I'm in the shallow end of the pool. Burger's pulling off all my twin 80s, pulling off my rig, whatever, pulling off all that stuff. And they're funneling me to that shallow end ladder. But I have no clue what's going on, no recollection of how I got there. I don't even have clear vision. It's like ink swells. Like somebody spilled ink over my eyes, and it's just this really weird, like, fluid movement of it. So every once in a while, I'll see, like, the ladder well and, like, the pool deck, but then it's just black again. And so I'm just out of my mind, can't even see things appropriately. The Master Chief, the CMC of Buds, is there just kind of observing or whatever, and he's asking me questions, and apparently that was funny and probably disrespectful because I think I was just like belligerent drunk, just like,
Yeah.
I don't know, motherfucker, mama. And so like it was just this straight comedy, and then like I just remember all this like black ink, and then like, okay, well, we had to wait for like the evolution to end or whatever while I'm sitting there talking to like the medic. And they're like, all right, cool. Now we're going to take you to Bud's Medical and get you checked out. Well, when that's happening, all of a sudden I see the whole class bear crawling around the pool deck. So I'm like, no, I got to join my class. So I try to like bear crawl off and they're like, nope, kind of basically like scoop me up, like, nope, you're going in the ambu. Come on, bud. And so got checked out. I didn't know this at the time. I found out later. Up to all of my tests at trying to accomplish this, I never even made it to the halfway point until the very last time. So I never made it
Really?
past 2.5 minutes of just the tread. I passed out every single time.
Damn, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, dude, it was nuts. I was definitely, the water was my weakest area. That just kind of makes me think about that chaos aspect and what I experienced later on. And I know that a lot of our brothers go through, and other people who've lived in these like high risk, high octane communities, like you're talking, where we've just been keeping that engine revved for like way too long. They can kind of hit some of that chaos where they feel like they're drowning, where they feel like everything's overwhelming them in like the mental health aspect or like the PTSD operator syndrome area or arena of life. So, with that kind of being said, you had this amazing Navy career. You did great in BUDS, you did great in SQT, you did great things in Iraq, you did all these deployments. And then now you've transitioned and you're doing something completely different. So it's kind of like we have the fog of war. That's what we trained to. That's what we lived in. But whenever we transition back, we kind of find ourselves face to face with like the fog of peace, the fog of the uncertainty of all of the options around you, all the things going on, all of the paths that you can take, and maybe even the resources that are available. So right now, what it sounds like you're doing with Vetivize is you're taking that fog of peace, that chaos of that military members, veterans, anyone transitioning and going into the civilian world, they're leaving that fog of war, what they've been trained to, and they're entering this fog of peace. Do you mind telling me a little bit more about what you're doing with your Vetivize and your new mission and your new moves?
Yeah, for sure. So Vetivize was spawned out of my transition experience back in 2017. Backing up to 2017, I was getting out at 11 and a half years. Who am I now that I'm not a team guy? I didn't even have these like really kind of existential crisis thoughts. It was really just like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to provide for my family? What kind of man am I going to be? The big old thing that kept on popping in my head was, who am I now? Right. So I just wanted to figure out, like, how do I integrate into the systems that are meant to be for me? So I ended up trying to figure out, like, how do I integrate into the VA, and successfully did that. So, like, my VA disability claim was turned around in 11 days, right? From submission to decision. Whereas
Wow.
at that time, the average VA disability claim was turned around in 181 days. And I got everything that I anticipated down to the percentage points. So I
Wow.
feel like I figured it out, right? I cracked the code. And the reason I cracked the code is because backing up to January of 2016, that's when I started getting to work. So I knew I was getting out January 2017. January 2016 came around. I was like, well, what do I do? Like, how do I integrate into the VA? And I'm probably going to say this and you'll be like, that was me. I heard this too. So I just went to the older guys that were already out. I was working at N3X. So in a level 2 course, that's
Okay.
where I was teaching in San Diego.
Cool.
And I had a bunch of contractors that were prior team guys that were working there, retired guys. And I was like, hey guys, what do I have to do to get into the VA? Like, you guys are already in there. Like, what do I do? And I even talked to like medics and stuff. And each one of them gave me like a different answer. None of them were aligned. I was like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, why does it feel like I'm the first guy to ever get out of the Navy? This doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. They've been around 200 years and feels like it's year one. And I'm the first
Yeah.
dude to get out. So I ended up taking their information, throwing it to the side. And I just went to the root source of the information. Ended up reading two very long, boring documents that the VA uses as operations manuals and then what they use to rate individual conditions. It's called the CFR 38. Unfortunately, not many veterans know about the CFR 38. It's an open source document. You can search it now at ecfr.gov. But at the time, I don't know if you remember this, there was a website called eBenefits. And eBenefits, like, you would go into ebenefits.va.gov and then you would search the CFR 38, and there was a bunch of Word documents that you would have to download and then read page by page. And you had to have like a medical background to be able to decipher, like, all right, I have a left shoulder condition, right? From that O course incident. I got that left shoulder condition that was made worse in Iraq, right? So, like, I know that this is service connected. Where do I find it in CFR 38? So then I had to look on musculoskeletal injuries that were in the CFR 38. Anyway, long story short, I figured it out. I created a process like in the teams, plan your dive, dive your plan, right? And I was diving my plan and it worked effectively. So then January comes around, 2017, I get what's owed to me. And then for the next 4 or 5 years, I just ended up helping out 7,000 veterans do that exact same process. So then
Wow.
2021 comes around and it's like the dawn of AI. I was like, man, I keep having these same conversations over and over and over and over again. This really seems like I have a process. We've got this new technology. Let's see if we can build an AI model that replicates this process. So we did that and it functionally works. It successfully was built, started a business. The overarching, so like our motto, our ethos at Vetivize is do good for good, right? So like that's all we're about. How do we do as much good for the right reasons as possible? And our do good for good motto centers around the veteran community. We don't want to be the arbiters of truth. We want to be the conduit between whatever good stuff's out there and the veteran. So, like, we're both aware there's so much good stuff out there for our veteran community, both at the federal, state, and nonprofit levels. It's just disorganized and decentralized, right? There's over 40,000 registered nonprofits. What if you
Yes.
had an automatic connection between you and whatever nonprofit is directly applicable to you? First, starting at, well, let's get you integrated into the VA. After you're integrated into the VA, now let's get you integrated into whatever state benefits are applicable to your family and you. And then nonprofit benefits are directly applicable to your family and you through the use of automation and artificial intelligence, all that we have proprietarily patented. And it works, right? So the best part, it works at scale, and we're ready to go and grow. So the dawn of Vetivize came from my own transition experience and me not wanting to hoard the answers, right? So like there's so much good out there. We just need our community to get engaged with it. So how do I get them to engage? Well, build a product, have that product available to the veteran community. Our business model is simple. We work as hard as we can to attempt not to charge veterans anything to gain access to our product. So we work with nonprofits and then also for-profit institutions. For-profit institutions like businesses and cities, counties, sheriff's departments, they pay for Vetivize as an HR retention and an HR recruitment tool for their current and prospective veteran employees. It's an HR benefit for their veteran employees. And it's awesome, right? And then the second one is the nonprofit community that's out there, the 40,000 registered nonprofits that raise money for our community and raise 5 billion with a B every year for the veteran community. That's a whole lot
That,
of money. On top
yeah,
of that's how much they
those are
raise.
staggering figures.
Yeah. On top of that, they all are a lot of the big ones out there have investment accounts that accrue interest every year in their investments. Well, stop hoarding that money. Let's get you a direct access. So, and this is another thing like we're trying to focus on is I think that and this is just my opinion, it's very much supported by a lot of other veterans that I talk to. I think that the nonprofit community that's out there is doing a great job. They are doing an absolutely stellar job. Their target focus, unfortunately, is on the donor population, right? So like they serve the donor population because that's who sends them money to be able to effectively service the veteran community. My argument is let's service the veteran community as highly competently and efficiently as possible. And as a result, the donors will directly come aligned to you. So the good can get better and the bad can get better or go away.
Those are excellent philosophy points for sure. Because wrong, right, or indifferent, I know you've heard stories. I know my personal experience was I fell through the cracks. Literally everything that could go wrong went wrong. I was not anticipating on transitioning when I did. I came back from my 7th deployment. By this point, I was in the reserve, so I went active duty to reserve after 5 deployments.
Uh-huh.
Ended up being a buds instructor, so I was the new generation's instructor Ames. I
Yeah.
was the medic out there on the San Clemente Island that I treated people who dislocated their shoulders on the O course. I stitched people up, you know what I mean? So that was kind of my role as a contractor, and then I also did a couple deployments with the reserves. Plan on putting in my officer package, all that, right? So, like, I was on the trajectory to continue the career, just picked up chief. I had happened to have just done, like, the out processing from active duty back to the reserves. trying to get my medical stuff squared away, and COVID hits. Everyone loses their mind during COVID and nobody knows what to do. I'm plugged back in with my casualty care guy who helped me whenever I needed my shoulder surgery because I screwed up my shoulder I got an AC separation very similar to sounding like yours, slap tear. They had to take off an inch of my bicep tendon, do a good cleanup, right? So that was my first trying to transition out of the Navy and into the reserves. Oh, well, you did a second deployment to Afghanistan right after injuring that shoulder, thinking I was okay, thinking I rehabbed it. You know how we do. We always push ourselves.
dude.
We're always like, avoid medical, try to self-treat, try to just get back in the game. That's all that we want to do is we want to deploy. That's what they trained us to do. And a good team guy, that's where their mind should be. And so I got connected back with him again, but because everything was so chaotic during the COVID time and because I kind of went into crisis, I hit my wall. You know what I mean? Like, hey, a lot of people say that they go to BUDS, they become a SEAL so they can find their limits, so they can push themselves to see if they can perform as part of the elite team or whatever and just see how far they can go. Hey, I found where my body shut down.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to how you were saying. You found where you were just staying up way too late in Iraq and like things just got freaking weird.
Yeah.
Very similar on my end. Like I couldn't sleep and my whole body was breaking down. I had bird bones, everything was breaking. It was just crazy. And even though the resources were there, and even though I had a good support network and I had friends and family and teammates and team guys and the Navy SEAL Foundation, like, hey, all these people, they were great. But finding that specific integration in the midst of all of that chaos was very problematic. And that is what I really love about what you're doing now in this new chapter, in this new phase of your life, is you're literally providing that perfect roadmap that I wish I had, that I wish anybody who's transitioning out has, and you put the time in, you built it, you optimized it, and you're doing it for all the right reasons. Do good for good. And I absolutely love hearing that. Do you mind kind of walking us through a little bit more of your interface or your onboarding process or whatever it is so that anybody who's listening to this that might relate to that story or might be thinking about their upcoming transition and want to avoid the pitfalls I fell into, how they can integrate with you, streamline those processes, and avoid a lot of that bad?
Yeah, for sure, man. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to hear that you went through what you went through and then, like you didn't integrate into the VA as seamlessly as I did. I hear the story time after time after time, right? I'm like, I have heard so many horror stories about the VA. It's like, oh, they're out to get me. Oh, they're terrible. I'm like, dude, I've never had a bad experience at the VA. Now,
That's awesome.
in
I love to hear that.
comparison, I go to the VA and tell them, this is how I need you to help me. And they just say, okay, right? I don't go there asking, how can you help me? I tell them, I need you to do this, then I need you to do that, and I need you to do this. So I think having that perspective changes the customer experience at the VA tremendously. And then enabling the incredible people at the VA to just provide support to you, however that is. So the way that our platform works is you go through a little onboarding, and I'll share that the Vetivize experience is not just aimed at veterans engaging with the VA for the first time in their active duty career, right? So like that transition period. I'll share this, right? So like there's this program called the Benefits Disability at Discharge Program, BDD. Have you ever heard of that, Brent?
If I have,
Very few have. Yeah, dude.
it's gone
It is
through
terrible.
through that brain.
Yeah. So like this is again that the referent knowledge has to go away and you just need to be directly connected to the truth all the time. So the Benefits Disability at Discharge program prioritizes VA disability claims for anybody that's active duty in transition. You have to submit your VA disability claim 6 months prior to your EAOS, no earlier than 6 months, no later than, I believe, 30 days prior to EAOS or 60 days. I can't remember off the top of my head. But you submit your VA disability claim and your disability claim gets prioritized. You go through all your CMP exams, compensation and pension exams while you're active duty. And then the last thing you do upon transition is you submit your DD 214. Once the VA has that, they can make all of their definitive decisions. So our technology and our product and our process is for everybody who's active duty, right? Even if you're like, I've got 5 years before I transition out, Vetivize is still going to provide tremendous value to you because there's a lot of times what you were talking about there where it's like, well, I got this problem, but I've been self-medicating. I haven't been reporting. I haven't been seeking treatment. I haven't been getting diagnoses. Vetivize hold your hand throughout that entire process. A way I like to kind of describe our product experience is we have our veteran community that's sitting at the base of the mountain, and that base of the mountain is Mount Everest. So you're looking all the way at the top of the mountain. You're like, dude, I've never even been hiking before. How the fuck am I supposed to get up there, right? I don't even know if I'm wearing the right shoes. So
Right.
2/3 of our veteran community don't even take the first step. 2/3.
Wow.
Throughout their entire life, 2/3 do not touch the VA system. 1/3 of our veteran population does. And unfortunately, a majority of those people take that first step upon retirement. Not retirement out of active duty, but retirement into their 65 years of age or 70 years of age, wherever they choose to retire. And the VA knows this too. So I'll share this with you. This is not necessarily going to be like a shock to you or anything. It's just the VA created this document right here, Journey of a Veteran Map. And in it, you can see that it's the entire lifespan of a veteran from joining the military all the way through to death, right? And in it, it highlights retirement. It's probably going to read backwards, but they even call it out right here. They say that the VA, upon retirement, moments that matter. Veterans seek supplemental coverage to fill healthcare coverage gaps caused by insurance changes during retirement. Some veterans re-engage or engage with the VA for the first time at this moment. So they know that it's a customer process experience problem. They just don't know how to solve it, right? So that's what we're doing. We're solving it from a customer service experience perspective so that our veteran community can easily transition into that platform, which is intended to serve them for the rest of their life. Whether that be they got out at 25 years old, or they got out at 60 years old, or they're engaging in the VA for the first time at 80 years old. Vetivize is still going to provide tremendous value to you. Even if you are a veteran that's 100% total and permanently disabled, Vetivize still provides tremendous value to you because I don't know if you're like me, but I'm pretty sure you are. We've been hit in the head way too many times. So if you ask us, let's say you got 15 conditions that you're managing that are service connected, and you talk to me on a good day about my back, right? And I'm in my annual appointment at the VA, and they're asking me, like, how's your back doing? Well, it's a pretty good day. Yeah, my back's good. Well, what if 3 out of the last 4 quarters, my back condition was so bad that it was affecting my ability to sleep throughout the night, my ability to exercise effectively and efficiently, and my ability to even tie my shoes? But if I don't write that stuff down, how am I ever supposed to remember it? Because like I said, I've been hit in the head way too many times. So Vetivize provides that documentation process. As you integrate with Vetivize through our head-to-toe assessment, you will then be able to get a clear, basically like a timestamp. Brent, this is how you're doing right now. And let's measure you again in 3 months. This is how you're doing right now. This is how you're doing. So that when you go to your annual appointment in or out of the VA at your primary care doctor, instead of them asking you how you're doing with all these different conditions, you can hand them an automated AI-generated report that summarizes how Brent has been over the last 12 months. So that way you don't have to use your memory anymore, right? So again, if you're 100% total and permanently disabled, Vetivize provides tremendous value. If you've never engaged with the VA ever, right? And it's been 20 years since you've been out of the military, 30, 40 years since you've been out of the military, Vetivize provides tremendous value. Even if you are active duty and you're thinking about getting out one day, which, as you and I both know, plan your out or your out will plan you, right? You never know when your ticket's going to get punched from your active duty job. So like, either you start getting to work or you're going to really resent it and regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually you're going to be like, shit, I messed this up, right? So like now you can
It'll catch
fix
up
all
to you.
that. Yeah, so Vetivize provides tremendous value to the active duty community in an effort to get things documented that we may not understand we need to get documented. 2 things, right? I'm going to highlight 2 specific health considerations that a lot of veterans don't even think about that I think all of us deal with. One of them is migraines, and the second one is irritable bowel syndrome, right? So after helping out over 7,000 veterans go through this process, I would ask them, like, hey, do you have migraines? And they say, no. I'm like, do you know what migraines are? Not really, but I don't think I have them. Then I would ask them, all right, well, do you ever get headaches really bad and light gets really bright and noises get really loud? And they're like, oh, yeah, about twice a month. I'm like, okay, cool. So do those headaches ever get so bad that they actually make you nauseous? Or maybe sometimes you actually throw up. And they're like, well, yeah, probably that happens about 2 or 3 times a year. I'm like, all right, dipshit, you got migraines. Okay. But unfortunately, they don't have the medical background that we do from 18 Delta, right? And our medical background from the teams, they don't have that background. So we have created a system that gives veterans the words to use that they didn't even realize they should be using as they're seeking these diagnoses. Also, more importantly, the words that they use are going to be directly aligned with the VA's rating guidelines, unbeknownst to the veteran, so that way we give the VA everything they need to just say yes. The second one is IBS, right? Same thing, right? I talk to veterans. I'm like, hey, do you have IBS? No. Do you know what IBS is? No. All right. Why'd you just say no? Why don't you just say, I don't know? Yeah. So you talk to them like, all right, do you have irritable bowel syndrome? No. All right. Okay, cool. So does your stomach hurt all the time? Do you eat certain foods and it makes your stomach very upset? Do you feel like you have an acid taste in the back of your throat all the time? Do you avoid coffee altogether? Do you avoid caffeine altogether? Do you avoid certain foods because you know that that's going to make your stomach really upset? So much so that it might actually make you vomit or gives you diarrhea, right? So like go through this whole list. And then eventually by the end of it, they're like, yep, I've been dealing with that for the last 10, 20, 30 years. What is one of the causes for IBS? Overconsumption of NSAIDs, right? So we all get prescribed NSAIDs while we're active duty like they're candy. And
Take
very
this
few of
Motrin,
us.
change your shots, drink water.
Yeah.
I did my medic jab today.
Yeah. Yeah. So we get the Motrin, vitamin M, we get that bad boy, and we don't take it the right way in general in the veteran community, active duty community included. We just take it raw dog, right? Like you just take it with no food, and that ends up ruining your stomach lining and ruining your intestinal fortitude, and it just crushes everything in your stomach. Well, again, if veterans don't know that they've changed over so it's like the what's that other phrase, like a frog doesn't realize it's getting boiled in the pot because it's been heating up over weeks, days, or months
just
because
so
it's incrementally getting
heating up.
hotter.
Yeah.
It's just the way you normally live now, right? Like my stomach is always supposed to hurt. These headaches are always supposed to be there. This shoulder's always supposed to hurt. My feet are always supposed to kill me. I'm always supposed to be on edge when I go in the public because somebody's out to get me. Oh, they're not. Nobody gives a shit about you. I promise.
Right, yeah.
But like we
They're in
get
their own head, doing their own
indoctrinated.
thing, living their own life, trying to get through their own storms.
Yeah. Yeah. So Vetivize is an attempt to get veterans directly connected to whatever federal, state, and nonprofit benefits are directly applicable to them. Currently, we have the federal process in launch. We're working on the state and nonprofit right now. So that'll get launched in the next handful of months. But yeah, it's all using the same level technology. So you go through your onboarding, you identify, am I active duty, am I a veteran, whatever you are. And then from there, you start answering questions, right, about your experience. I'll share also that our product is made for us, so much so that a lot of us deal with traumatic brain injuries. So there's great research out there that shows that those of us that deal with traumatic brain injuries, when we try to read things, you'll have to read it 4, 5, or 6 times, and then you'll retain a little bit of it, right, after that 5th or 6th time. Now, if we follow along what is being read to us, retention goes up immediately. So we have an avatar that you pick, right? The avatar that I picked looks like my wife. So I get to see my wife, even though I don't get to see her sometimes, right? When I'm engaging with Vetivize, I see her and she's talking to me. I'm like, wow, that lady's pretty. I like this. She talks to me through the
I made good
script.
choices.
Yeah. Yeah. So then it talks to you, it guides you through the entire experience, holds your hand, and then you have never an end to the product experience. It's a cycle. So you go through, and then if you so choose to submit a VA disability claim, not only are you going to submit something that the VA has essentially no reason to say no to, they just have to say yes to everything because everything is legitimate and you have everything documented the way that they want to read, right? And you didn't write anything. It's all used automated AI generated words through our platform. Not only have you provided that to them, but now you have, like I said, that timestamp. This is how I'm doing right now. physically, mentally, and emotionally. Do it again in a quarter, again in a quarter, again in a quarter. In between those interactions, you're going to be made aware of these different great resources that are out there, these nonprofit benefits that are out there for you, state benefits that are out there for you. And then there's so much good out there for us. Like I said, it's all decentralized and disorganized. We're attempting to centralize, organize, and automate it. So that way you don't have to do, let's say that of those 40,000 nonprofits that are out there, 1,000 of them are raising money specifically for a veteran like you, Brent, right? Now, does that mean you got to do 1,000 applications? Hell no, dude. Not only in our plan will you directly get connected to the nonprofit, but there's not going to be an application because we become the matchmaking service between you and the veteran nonprofit that is attempting to serve you. And you'll be given a customer service voice. Think of like rating like a Yelp experience. You know what I mean? Like I go through an experience at nonprofit X that I got directly connected with, and now I get to rate them, so give them a 5-star because they were absolutely awesome. Record a little video, have that video sent to the nonprofit so that way they can use that testimonial to share with their donor population. Now we've automated the customer service experience from their perspective to their donors. They don't have to reach out anymore. They don't have to do that. So listen, dude, it's awesome. I am biased though, because we built it and I've got a great team that helps me make sure that this technology functionally works and is, practically applicable, and super proud of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, all the stuff that you're saying is just like huge value. It's clear that you've done your homework, right? So you mentioned it early on in the episode. Plan your dive, dive your plan. That is such an instrumental part of success. So you did that throughout your life. You also did that during your transition. You planned out that VA transition. You talked to experts, talked to people who'd been there, done that. You synthesized that advice. You put in your claim and you got it responded to and approved within 11 days. So you have functionally proved that proof of concept, right? And you've made this Yelp for heroes. And you mentioned 40,000 veteran nonprofits. 40,000. That's a huge amount. And I know that you've done like a lot of AI automation. So we know that trust is currency, right? And you've kind of full looped that by allowing you to give that honest feedback. But how do you vet them before they get entered into your Vetivize system? How do you ensure that a vet that is on your platform isn't walking into a scam or a waste of their time by maybe not being linked up with the right resource that they actually need?
Yeah, so that all comes into our automation workflow. Every veteran that uses our platform has access to their own, what we call a Vetivize Vault. That vault is a HIPAA-compliant cloud-based storage device that you have access to, and only you. Nobody at Vetivize has access to it. Your information is safe and secure. It's encrypted. Nobody can get access to it except you. Okay. Me, as the CEO and founder of Vetivize, there's no back door that I can be like, oh, Brent's using Vetivize. Let me look into his medical records. I can't do it. Like we made it, like I said, I made it for me and my family. You just so happen to be my family, right? We're all part of the veteran family. There's only 19 million of us. There's 340 or 350 million people in the US. There's only 19 million veterans. That's not a lot. Plus about anywhere from 1.9 to 2.4 million active duty members. It's not a whole lot of us, right? We deserve to be treated with honor, integrity, and security. So Vetivize is treating us the way we deserve to be treated. We don't want any security spillages. So like I made this so like I can use Vetivize. I can trust that my social security number, whatever number is associated to me, is saved in my Vetivize vault and it's safe and secure. You know what I mean? I don't want
That's
that
awesome.
to ever be shared. So like there's a question that I get sometimes from employers or employees that have their Vetivize program started by their employer. And that question is, well, is my employer going to see any of my, medical records, or are they going to see anything that I talk about in Vetivize? Nope. Your employer just did something right. They saw you as a veteran employee. They see the value you bring to the business, and they're trying to do something special for you. Okay. So they started a Vetivize program. That employer is just doing this out of the kindness of their heart. Now, I will share there is some potential financial upside for an employer to start a Vetivize program. This is what I mean. Veterans that engage in the Vetivize process, on average, increase their annual income by the VA by $14,400 per year, tax-free. So,
Wow.
you're going to tell me that I don't have to pay for this. I just have to use it. And statistically, I'm going to increase my income annually $14,400 per year. Sign me the fuck up, right? Like, where's the downside? There is no downside. I promise, man. I swear, I'm just doing this out of the kindness of my heart. It is a for-profit institution. We will not make a single dollar off of the veteran community. This is where, like I said, we partner with nonprofits that pay for veterans to have access to Vetivize. We partner with for-profit institutions for veterans to have access to Vetivize from the employee model. Now, from an employer's perspective, they want their employees, their veteran employees, to engage in the VA. On average, businesses set aside anywhere from $13,000 to $15,000 per year per employee to cover down on benefits costs. Everything from premium coverages, healthcare premium coverages, to retirement plan matching, to education benefits, everything in between, right? They have all these different HR programs. If a veteran engages in Vetivize, and let's say they get to 100% total and permanent disability, meaning that they can still work, they can still maintain employment, but they just now are rated at the top tier in the VA because they've just been like probably white knuckling it for a number of years, right? So now that veteran is going to get a choice. Do I, as the employee, still pay these monthly premiums and then have my employer pay whatever matching monthly premiums for me to have access to this private healthcare insurance? Or do I just save that money and then use the VA as my healthcare system? And I'm going to have a good quality experience at the VA. I'm going to do that, right? I'm going to save money. Not only am I going to get more money as a result of Vetivize, I'm also going to be able to keep more of the money that I'm already rightly earning from my employer, because now I'm going to use my VA benefits to engage in healthcare. Now, the employer, what they now have the opportunity to do is like, well, we don't have to set that $13,000 to $15,000 a year aside anymore for these employees. Not all of them. So not every veteran employee is going to get 100% total and permanent disability, but a certain percentage of them will. And if a certain percentage of them do, then the program essentially not only pays for itself, but it essentially pays, or it saves the business tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars, or if not millions of dollars, depending on how large the veteran employee base is. That's number one. Number two, as a veteran engages in these federal benefits, well, now they're going to be made aware of all these other benefits are directly applicable to them. State-funded education benefits for not just them, but their family as well. So if their kids are going off to college, now their kids can go to college maybe at a discount, maybe for free, depending on what state they're at. The employer, generally speaking, has these education benefits they set aside. The employer doesn't have to set that aside anymore. Saving money, saving money, saving money. So yeah, that's how it works.
Dude, yeah, I love it. It's awesome. It's helping the system function the way that it was designed to function, fill those little holes in the funnel where people can fall through, not be able to get connected to the right benefits, and saving people money all around the board, putting more money in people's pockets who earned it and deserve it. That's freaking awesome. So I know that the skills for being the CEO and founder of a tech company and a tech platform aren't necessarily the skills that you embrace and you learned and you trained to in the SEAL teams. So you decided to build this tech platform. It's a different kind of Hell Week. You know, we had Hell Week, we had Hydro Hell Week, we had all these little like Hell Weeks that just kept going on that they don't tell you about, and then you just find yourselves in them. So was there a moment when you were building Vetivize that you hit a wall and you just thought, I don't know if we can pull this off? And if you did find that point, what did you end up doing to ultimately push through?
Every damn day. Listen, dude, it's wild. So entrepreneurship, it's never easy. It's not supposed to be easy. You work for yourself and you're going to work as hard as you want to work. I remember months ago, we were raising money and, actually probably like the beginning of this year, I was like, man, it's not working, right? Like we're not resonating with the investor population. Something's just not working. It's easy to quit. We did a good job, right? Let's just call it. Nope. Now we got to keep going. We got to keep going. Got to keep going. It's not a quit. You just don't quit. You just keep figuring out what's the problem. How do I solve it? What's the problem? How do I solve it? The good news is, good and bad news, right? Good news is there are fires everywhere. And when there are fires everywhere, piss puts out quite a few of those fires that are real close to you, right? So
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
really have to work really hard to think about these problems and how to solve them. It's really like super simple. It's like, all right, what's the problem? Solve it. What's the problem? Solve it. We got it. We can do this. We can do this. I think with more seasoned businesses, they're so refined, right? Like just think about Amazon, for instance. I worked for Amazon right as I got out of the Navy. Amazon's been around for, geez, what, 30, 40 years? 30 plus years, maybe 35 years. Amazon's been around 30 years, right? They have to seek problems to solve and be very creative with the way that they solve them because they've already had those initial startup problems where every problem was massive, right? They already figured all that shit out. They're a well-oiled machine. Now they're just trying to figure out how do they become more efficient to save more money. So that way the money that they make stretches longer. You know what I mean? That's not where we're at as a startup. Startups are, hey, fires everywhere. Start spitting, start peeing. Something's going to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, man. So I totally dig it. You've done a lot of good things fighting through getting that startup so that people, they don't have to feel like they're treading water alone. A lot of what you've said just kind of resonates with me in that if you're out there, you're treading water, you're just trying to keep your head above that water and not go under, not stay under. Remember, action alleviates anxiety. There are tools like Vetivize designed to help you cut through all that noise, all that static that's going on in your life so that you don't have to swim alone. You have a swim buddy, and Vetivize can be that swim buddy for you. I highly encourage you to get on that platform, download it, look into it, use it. Let that be your swim buddy as you move through all of these phases in life he's talked about, not just transitioning from the military, but your first employment after the military, as you move into your different stages of life with family, with retirement benefits, with all of that. Let it do all that hard work for you. You just keep updating it with your quarterly touch bases, right? And let it hold your hand, let it be your swim buddy and get you through it. So, obviously, we've got lots of soldier suicide. We've got lots of veterans organizations that help support that. We're all about reducing that number. We're all about getting help. I believe that one, everything that we're doing right now is changing the status quo and the quality and quantity of mental health care that not just we receive as veterans, but also that gets back out into the community. I believe in a spillover effect. The emergency medicine world, as you know, being a medic with the SEAL teams, evolved so much and got so much better during the war on terrorism, during the global war on terrorism, because of all the incidents of injuries that experience, all the different types of injuries, all the different surgeons and different doctors doing the research, putting in the time, improving and refining. Now, what I believe that we're doing, this is a big change that we will see in our lifetime. A lot of people poo-poo on it and say, "Oh no, it's not going to happen." No, it will happen. We are doing this. We're changing that status quo, and we are going to spill over all of the good lessons that we learned and that we know about mental health from our veterans into our communities. We're going to have stronger communities, better support, better mental health, less incidents of addiction, abuse, violence, domestic violence. Like all of that will go down because of the work that you're doing and the work that we're doing. So, with that goal of that deep emotional impact and forward looking vision, so we're pulling back to that big picture. Why does this matter? Like, we were taught early on, hey, never swim alone, always have a shooting buddy, always have a swim buddy. The civilian world, that wasn't like trained into them, that wasn't beat into them. So, how does Vetivize act as that digital swim buddy? And why is community the antidote to the suicide, the depression rates that we've traditionally been seeing in our veteran community?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll answer the second question first. So,
Okay.
this is my opinion. I think the more we serve others, the less we think about ourselves. And I really do think that's at the root source of mental health. How do we think about others more than we think about ourselves? How do we serve others more than we serve ourselves? From the Christian perspective, there are very strong Christian tenets that align to that. Give others more than you can give yourself, work hard for others, be of service to others. This is all things that Jesus taught in the Bible. Oddly enough, it still holds true and serves well to this day. So I think we all get in those, poo poo states, and some of us get deeper and darker than others. And I think when that happens, it's very natural to feel like the woe is me. Nothing's ever like you just keep sinking deeper and deeper and deeper into this hole of self loathing. And then nobody can help me. I'm worthless. I'm helpless. I'm alone. You're never alone, right? Like, get out of that. We all know that the best thing to do in those states of mind is to serve others. Unfortunately, it's the last thing on our mind is to serve others when we feel like we are helpless and hopeless. Who could ever benefit from me helping them out? Who can I help if I can't even help myself? But that's all a lie, man. None of that's true. None of that shit's true. We're all just here to help other people. We're here to help each other out. If you ever do get into those dark places, like I said, I've been there many times before, and they are all rooted, from my personal perspective and my experience, it's always been rooted in selfishness, right? Like, oh, everything sucks. Everything sucks for me. Everything sucks about me. I hate myself. Stop thinking about yourself. Think about others. Be in the service of others. Love others. Then, if you can do that, all of a sudden, you start feeling better. You know what I mean? And then you can
Yeah.
start exercising a little more. And then you can maybe make better food choices. These incremental steps to be able to crawl out of the poo poo place. But, it's also normal, right? Like, you're supposed to be happy, you're supposed to be sad. You're not supposed to feel forever depressed because that's not normal. But if some depressing shit happens, that's normal. If somebody you love and have loved for a really long time dies, you're not supposed to just ride through that and be like, "Oh, that's awesome. Everything's okay." No, dude, feel sad. That shit's sad. That's normal. You're not going to live there forever. If you get in those places, just ride that wave. I promise you, you'll come out of it the other side as long as you serve others and eat good foods and exercise. But like I said, in those times, that's the last thing you want to do because you don't feel worthy of serving other people. You don't feel worthy. You don't have motivation to go work out. All you want to do is just be lethargic and eat sweet treats and do all that bullshit. But none of that matters. It's just be in the service of others, serve others, serve others, serve others. Meditation is the hardest thing in the world, especially when you're in those deep, dark places, because again, I'm just speaking from personal experience here, but it's the best thing for you to do. And it's the hardest, next to most impossible thing to do when you're in those deep, dark places. Because you're like, well, how do I calm my mind? Like, I close my eyes and I just put like noise canceling headphones on, or I just try to sit in the quiet in these states of meditation. And all I think about is bad shit, right? I'm worthless. I'm a piece of shit. Everything sucks. Work through it. Just stick with it. Unfortunately, over a long enough period of time and enough reps, you'll get there to where you're like, oh, that was all just a lie. That's a distraction. Something wants to suck me down. Some people call it the ego. Some people call it Satan, the devil, whatever it is. Something wants to drag you down. Something wants to keep you there in that deep, dark, alone place. Something wants to lie to you and tell you you're alone. But you're never alone. It's impossible to be alone. You're surrounded by people all the time. Be in service of others. Get some hugs. Love on people. Love on them. Like, give them the thing that you want. And I promise you, you're going to get it in return. I hug people all the time. I'm a hugger because I want
Same.
hugs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And we were medics too, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we kind of had to put into that role a little bit. So maybe that's why we gravitated towards those outlets. So you've been hitting on like so many amazing things. I just want to kind of like touch back into them. So one of the things you're talking about is like the lies, the rumination, and just like those thoughts that race and they just swirl in our head sometimes. And sometimes we can get them to stop. Sometimes we can't. What was going on with me when I finally got connected with providers, they're like, dude, you're not even sleeping enough to let your executive functionings that can control thoughts repopulate. Your cognitive
Yeah.
functioning is declining because of TBI, chronic fatigue, chronic sleeplessness, all that. Your brain isn't even resetting enough when it's supposed to be resetting so that you can stop those thoughts, which is very troubling. So if you're going through this, you're hearing this, you're listening to this, like, know that you're not alone. Just like Anthony just said, you're not alone. There's other people who've been through it that are going through it. You're not isolated. You can do the things you can to take control. He mentioned meditation. Another good option is you hear that thought immediately. Your immediate action drill. Hey, you got a click instead of a bang. It is stop that thought. You say, no, that is a fucking lie. That is not the truth. And then you replace it with a statement that is true. And that needs to be your rehearsed repetition, your immediate action drill for that rumination to stop that negative spiral in its tracks and then reset it to spiraling back up. That's our goal every time whenever we start noticing whatever it is that's ticking us into those negative states, those dark black areas, is having that immediate action drill and having it kind of ready to go. So you've been hitting that with a lot of identity. You mentioned identity and mission a lot tonight, and it's just been so great and it's so much value. And another thing that I think a lot of veterans struggle with, especially those who really loved the job, wanted to do the job. So your guys in the special operations community who went through extra crap to get there, right? And it happens to other veterans too, not just the people in that community, but they get stuck in that identity of the Army, of the Navy, of the Trident, of the Green Beret, of whatever it is, of the assaulter, right? So what advice would you give to the guy who feels like his best days are behind him?
Sure, and that's super normal. I think the military does a great job of indoctrinating us and then making us believe the lie that we are our job. You're never going to be your job. You're going to have many jobs, hopefully, until the day you die, and not one of them is going to be you. You're never going to be that myopic, right? Like, you can't just identify with this one aspect of the many complexities of your life. This is something that I've had to, deal with just with my own personal transition. The identity crisis that the veteran community is having is it's going on out loud and it's being demonstrated in the suicide rates. The fact that we're not like actively doing anything to help people become aware of the identity transition, the identity crisis, and then navigate it more effectively and efficiently, that's, I think, where we're at right now. We're right on the cusp, right? So like it's another thing that we're attempting to do with Vetivize is it's more part of like the long-term strategic roadmap is how do we get veterans connected to something bigger than themselves so that way they know straight out the gate upon transition, you never were a SEAL, a Green Beret. That's never who you were. That's something you did. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know anybody who introduces themselves, hi, I'm an electrician.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
retarded. Like, that doesn't make any
Right.
sense, right? So, like,
Yeah.
usually say, hi, my name is whatever, or you identify with something more deep and more profound. So, yeah, just getting that awareness of, like, you're never going to be your job, never have been, never will be. It's impossible to be your job. And then trying to figure out, well, who am I? Because I never did any. Well, I got a really good friend, one of my best friends. His name is Joel, and he calls it belly button gazing. How the hell did I get here? What is here? Where is here? Like, what's going on right now? So belly button gazing helps me a lot to become more aware of, all right, I'm here. How did I get here? What decisions did I make to get me here? Where do I want to be? How do I get there? What decisions do I need to make in order to get there? How do I hold myself accountable to those decisions? Start creating goals. Ask other people to hold you accountable. If you're trying to stop drinking alcohol, whatever it is, dude, whatever you're trying to do, you got to make sure that you're, setting up systems so that way you can not just hold yourself accountable, but other people can support you in that accountability process. So if you start ruminating too much in the glory days of like, oh, I used to do this, I used to do that. Yeah, I used to suck on my mommy's titty when I was friggin' 6 months old. I don't do that anymore. What am I
Right.
doing
Yeah.
right now? Where am I going then? Who cares about then? Like it's not useful to me anyway. It's not useful to be stuck in that place I used to, or like that real myopic view of I am a blah. Nah, dude, like so many different aspects of me personally, right? Like I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a Christian, I'm a friend, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a helper, I'm a server, I'm a servant, right? So like there's so many different aspects of my identity that if I just get rooted in this little thing of like I'm a SEAL, to me, like some people do that and that's awesome. I commend them for that. I'm not here to judge anybody. I just know that that didn't serve me. It never has and it never will. And I need to be more open minded. And the way I do that is just to open my mind and realize that I cannot be a job. Like I am an entrepreneur right now. It's not my identity. My identity is like I'm the deeply beloved son of the Most High God, and that's who I choose to identify as. And that's it, dude. Like everything else, who cares? I'm gonna be dead soon,
Dude,
you know?
that's so
And
awesome.
when I
I
say
love
soon, like I talked to my wife about this and she's like, you use retarded words sometimes. She doesn't say that. But when I say like I'm gonna be dead soon, the earth has been around for billions, if not trillions of years, right? The universe has been around forever. Maybe at best, I'm gonna get 90 years here. I'm already 41. That's pretty fucking soon in comparison to the infinite time span. So when I say like I'm gonna be dead soon, it's like, yeah, I don't got much time to waste. So I can't be stuck in this like self-centered methodology of thinking where it's I am a job. Does
Dude,
that make
your
sense?
open mindedness, your growth mindset is so on point. I just love hearing you talk about it, talking about, hey, the reality today I need to live. I don't need to be stuck up in like a victim mindset or an ego driven, like, oh, I'm the SEAL, I'm this, I'm that, whatever. Right. So you're just bringing so much value and truth here. So speaking of that growth, kind of on that, you've created this amazing system for veterans. So 5 years from now, what does this landscape look like for veterans because of what you've done with Vetivize and because Vetivize exists?
Oh, that's so cool. That's so fun to think about. I think about that quite often, right? Because I think we're just on the dawn of AI. We really haven't even understood fully what it is to implement, like even Agentics AI and how all of that stuff works with relation to, I mean, really, it's like job replacement, more effective and efficient working things that are doing mundane tasks all the time. My hope is that our veteran community gets more engaged in their spirituality, and that as a result of Vetivize, we have somehow been able to reduce the suicide rate in our community. That's a genuine hope because as veterans engage in Vetivize, they will then become more engaged in whatever federal, state, and nonprofit benefits are directly applicable to them. And as a result, they will be more interconnected to whoever serves them and who they get to serve. You know what I mean? And I think there's some tremendous value in that. And then for the extreme cases that are in need of the psychedelic treatment therapies that are out there that are genuinely effective and efficient, there's that stuff out there too, right? And it genuinely works. Here's one thing I hope is that in 5 years, the VA's knee jerk reaction to the mental health crisis that's going on is not to medicate with antidepressants or antipsychotics. Instead, they prescribe good exercise and work ethic and some type of community service and mentorship, both up and down, right? So, like, you have to mentor others and others have to mentor you, building a sense of community. Because, like, there's no, you and I both know this, when you get prescribed mental health drugs, they are chemically mind altering. They change your serotonin levels, not just the quantity, but you're able to uptake and maintain those serotonin levels. It just makes you emotionally flat. Now, let's think about this compared to diabetes. In order for you to be diabetic, you have to get a blood test, and that blood test has to confirm that your insulin levels are insufficient to be able to maintain your sugar intake, right? So there's a test there, there's a definitive test there. Now, take that same concept and put it into mental health drugs. What test was done? You just said some words and they gave you mind altering medication, that'll never make sense to me. You know what I mean? Like, what if you were on a bad
Right.
day? What if you're on a good day? What if you're just feeling a little dumb or you didn't get good sleep that night? It just never makes sense. There's no test that's done that shows us that we have a chemical imbalance in our brain. None. None that exist. Because where was the baseline? How do we know that we are different from that baseline? How does our age factor into that, where our chemical brain measurements are? As our activity level? So all these things, it just, to me, it doesn't make any sense. In fact, it should be, like, all right, let's get you some exercise. Let's get you in the service of others. Let's get others, integrated into your life. Let's let you become very firmly aware that it's okay to feel bad. You don't have to feel bad forever. Be in the service of others, and all of a sudden the poo-poo feelings go away. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
in 5 years, like I said, hopefully the suicide rate is reduced as a result of X, Y, and Z that I described earlier. And then also the veteran community is directly engaged in corporate America or whatever they want to do, right? They're just in the community by and large.
Awesome. I love it. Spilling over, giving all that goodness, all the good lessons they learned, and giving it right back. Like you said, serving others, both up and down, mentoring up and down, getting out and finding ways to make those impacts in the community at large so that we are creating a better world for us to live in every day by our intentional actions, by our intentional thoughts, and the decisions we make. All right. We'll wrap it up here pretty soon, but I do have a couple more things that I want to throw out there. Laughter is also a great medicine. So there's a segment that I try to highlight, which is making the safety brief. So I'm trying to have you reach into the archives of the random experiences that you went through. And so it wasn't necessarily the safety brief, it was the in brief that I found myself a part of. Like I'd go through ULT, I'd go to a training site, and they'd always give you that in brief, right? Like, hey, do this, don't do that. Hey, don't do this to the frog, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? So what is some story from your career, deployment, training, whatever, where it just stitched up your guts? It was just so hilarious, whatever it was that happened.
Yeah. So this actually got put on my first platoon. Our XO from the team came over to our outstation, and he was going to come out on an op with us. Dana DeCoster, he's an awesome dude, and he was a real likable guy, super professional all the time, but always like you could talk to him about anything. And he came out, and one of the guys was like, "Hey, Anthony, I bet you won't say this." And I was like, "Watch me." So, oh man, I can't remember what movie it was from, but there was some movie. Anyway, I'm going to ruin the punchline. So we're doing the mission brief, going through all this stuff. And then Dana is like, "Hey, all right, anybody have any questions?" And I very calmly raise my hand. He's like, "Rivera, what's going on?" I'm like, "Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?" And everybody started dying laughing. And I was like, "Yes." He laughed too. I was like, "Yeah, man, hell yeah, dude." I can't remember what movie it was from, but it was very prevalent at the time. Is it
Oh,
true
dude.
that if you don't use it, you lose it? And yeah, that
Everybody's
actually got
serious. Everybody's
yeah.
getting their
Everybody
notes,
was like,
making sure that
"Yeah,
they got the
dude."
plan down.
Especially with the XO there. XO is going to come out on an op with you. You know what I mean? Everybody was super
Right.
serial, and I was like, "Dude,
Oh,
this is
man.
way too serious. We're just going to have some fun. Let's go have some fun." Because I think the mission was we made this big friggin' bomb to be able to draw all the bad guys into Iraq. So like they would look for bomb making material if there was a big boom. So it wasn't like anything too serious. It was just like, how do we make a big boom to create the cockroaches come out to be able to get all the food. Anyway, it was super dumb. So I also made a bomb that looked like a dildo. That's pretty good. It worked
Oh, yeah.
also.
Awesome.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you can't leave your notebook anywhere without somebody drawing a cock and
dick on
balls
it.
inside
Yeah.
your training notes.
Yeah. That bad boy
There
stays
was
in your pocket or else. Yeah.
there was one LZ, I think it was at Shank in Afghanistan, and they have the ISU 90s, right? And they're all painted tan. Well, somebody had done like a different tan color or some type of other spray paint. You could only break it out on nods, and it was the infamous cock and balls.
That's good, dude.
All right.
That is very
So
good.
we'll
40-year-old
wrap this up.
virgin. That's what it was from. The 40-year-old virgin. where he's like sitting
Awesome.
around and the girlfriend's daughter is, they're going to like a little father-daughter thing or something like that, and he's just like he's super serious. He's like he's like, is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it? And he's talking about his like erections and stuff from a 40-year-old virgin's perspective. Yeah, dude. Ah, man, I forgot all about that. That was good, man.
Oh,
That's
man.
really good.
Classics.
Yeah.
Classics. Good stuff. So we're kind of into the final charge. We'll wrap this up. It has been so awesome catching up, hearing about how life has just been going so well for you, how you're doing so many great things for the veteran community. And so if you could speak directly to, say, one of our classmates going through a hard time, or a listener who's in the storm right now, they're treading the water, the waves are high, they're tired, everything's just not good. Everything is in that chaos realm that we were talking about. What's the very first thing that they need to do whenever this podcast ends?
Oh man, call one of your buddies. Call one of your buddies and just get a laugh in, right? Like just talk to them. Even if you don't want to get a laugh in, call one of your buddies from the teams or from your military career and just reconnect. I think oftentimes we get isolated in our own bubbles. We don't text for a long time. We don't call for a long time. I think there's a bit of shame that's involved in that. Just call them, right? Call them out of the blue. I guarantee you're going to have a value out of that. That's always served me well because I can always speak the truth to all of us, right? I don't have to sugarcoat shit. It's just like, hey, here's what's going on. Here's how I'm feeling. I just need you to listen. And nobody's going to judge you on the other end of that phone call. You're just going to listen and be like, I've been there, man. Yeah, I know what you're going through. Everything's going to be okay. Because it's true. Everything's going to be okay.
That's right.
And that's awesome.
That's right.
There's a great podcast with John Bernthal. I think his name is John Bernthal. And he's interviewing Shia LaBeouf. I'll send it to you after this. But
Cool.
man alive, it's so great. It's a guy that just came out. So like Shia LaBeouf just came out of just the absolute shittiest of shitty lows. Like he cheated on his wife. Everybody found out about it. His wife found out about it. He goes off to AA for like the fourth or fifth time. And that's the person that you're talking to. Somebody who just came out of the rock bottom, the rockiest of bottoms. Super successful guy, name got dragged through the mud. And he says in that podcast, and I love it so much, he's like, everything's going to be all right in the end. And if it's not all right, it's not the end. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, that's exactly right. It's not like that's
That's
where it's
awesome.
supposed to be. So that's how it is, man. The end is really the beginning. So that's just from a faith-based perspective. But yeah, like I think it's totally normal to feel down and dirty and feel alone, but you never are alone. All you gotta do is just pick up the phone, go somewhere, be of service to somebody. Personally, I love jujitsu. That's my community. Like I go there, I get that good training on. I get beat up. I beat up other people. It's a lot of fun. We talk a lot of shit the
Mhm.
whole time, right? That's my community. My wife, I love to be around her way more than she likes to be around me. And that's okay, right? So like I try not to annoy her or bother her too much. My kids, right? My kids are 15 and 16 right now. Just give hugs, receive those hugs. We know what we're supposed to do. Get good exercise, eat good foods, get in the presence and service of others. Do it. Just do it. Don't be a bitch. Just do it. Come on.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. Good stuff, man. As we wrap up, if you don't mind just directing our listeners to where they can connect with you, how they can get involved in Vetivize. And man, again, I'm super, super grateful to have you on the show. It's been an honor to have you. And dude, I absolutely love the work that you're doing.
Thank you, man. Hey, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share Vetivize. Thanks for catching up again. This has been great, dude. I love everything about this. Sorry I couldn't come to the reunion, but just busy with all this shit. Yeah, if you want to get connected to Vetivize, go to vetivize.com, Vetivize.com. Also, we have a strong LinkedIn presence. We're not really on any other social medias all that much, intentionally so. I know the value that it brings to businesses. I just also know that it does more harm than good. So I'm trying to avoid that like the plague. It's not a real place. So for those of us that are on social media a lot, just recognize it's not a real place. It can't give you a hug. It's not like you can spend as much time as you want there. You're never going to get that time back. You're not going to get bigger, faster, stronger, smarter on that, whatever platform you're on. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Vetivize.com. If you want to get involved, connect with me on LinkedIn, Anthony Rivera. Vetivize. Also, like we have all the other social media accounts, but like I said, I just don't engage with them at all. If you have any questions about Vetivize, go to info@vetivize.com and you can send that an email to that and we can answer those questions. Podcasts, like I've done quite a few podcasts already talking about it. It answers a majority of questions. I've gone way more in depth in this podcast I think I have in any other podcast. So it's good, man. Like we're really at our heart's core, we're just trying to do something for us. Something's better than the nothing that's going on in the the federal VA system that currently exists. Oh, nothing. What I mean is like there's no real tech innovation that's going on for our community at the VA. When I say nothing, that's what I mean. We're attempting to do something, and that something is bigger than the nothing that's going on in the tech space as it relates to the veteran community at the VA.
It's so freaking awesome. Like you said, like your mission statement is do good for good. I love seeing you do it, and I can't wait to see all the amazing success stories that you have and all the years moving forward. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, bud.